Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? We're out of executive session. All right, we'll call a regular select board meeting to order and pledge of allegiance is first.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No presentations tonight, no public hearings, any adjustments to the agenda?
One for 10.1, I think we talked about earlier, or as a presentation to have. To listen to John talk about an issue.
Do you want it under presentations?
That's fine with me.
Okay. All right, we'll put it under
Get
there.
out of here sooner so we can.
Okay.
He can go salt the roads.
Yeah. All right.
There's also one more, I think it's payroll warrant number 22. I think that needs to be added.
So that you make that 10.9,
9 point.
9.2.
9.2.1. Oh, okay. So what number was it? 23?
22. I think.
22.
It's right in front of you.
Oh, in here?
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, I got you.
you want me to look it up?
I'm just curious.
22.
Somebody make a motion to approve those changes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. All right, I guess we'll go back to presentations.
John Daigle.
You are up.
You
Front and
can't
center.
stand in the back of the room. You have to come forward. I'll give you a little history on this. We had a request from a new resident who bought property up on Quarry Road. In the past, the previous owners have plowed that. And it's a nice hill,
Oh, yeah, it's a good deal.
good hill and a long road. We have a right of way.
Right.
To the quarry. But we have not had we haven't had the responsibility to plow it. We do occasionally fix up to the quarry.
We fix up the core if there's a washout and whatnot. We did again today. But we've never plowed it.
But the general maintenance, we haven't done.
And that would protect our easement, right, John?
Private road.
Private
Private road.
road. I got a request for you to consider plowing it.
And the people asked me the same thing and. Right now, as far as MMA and state, it's considered private road. We can't do that. You guys can make that decision, but there again, according to state. Just no way.
Part of our issue is that in a deed.
Right.
From when the water company owned it, and we're going back to Paul Rink days, water company. They put in there that for $300, the water company would plow it. But even if the water company essentially took over plowing, it would be much more than $300 to plow it. We're not bound by that deed, and actually, I think that deed passes over to another owner on the road. So as much as it would be nice to help people.
Right.
We just can't start plowing private property. But I wanted to make sure that you were aware of the request. And I do think and the next question was, can the road be taken over? That also would be a question that would have to go before the voters. And we'd have to do estimates of what it would cost
Right.
to bring it to the standard
Standard.
and maintain it. And then we'd have to put that on a town meeting.
Do you want that addressed at the same time here or just one?
I just wanted you to know that we had the request, but
Yep.
we've never plowed it in the past. We have maintained at least the washouts up
Right.
to, if a tree falls down over the right of way, we do fix it, but we've never plowed it. And I do think, pardon the pun, it's a dangerous slope to go down, or a slippery.
Anybody get any questions?
As much as I would love to help, I just don't think we can.
No, I certainly agree, because I lived on a private road forever, and
Mhm.
I wish the town would come take it over, but.
Yeah.
Knew that. Away.
And votes like that typically don't pass.
Right.
So do you want us to vote on?
I don't think you guys really have anything to vote on unless you want to direct us to see how much it would cost to bring it up to standard and put it on a town meeting vote.
Is there a formal request for that?
No, not yet.
Okay, so
That's the best I
wouldn't-
could do.
Is that road an HOA where they have, because how many residents, there's a couple up
No,
there, right?
two.
Just to,
Two, and so they, in their deed, they must show that they're responsible for the road.
I think that's under discussion amongst them.
Right.
And I think what happened when this property recently transferred, and when we talked to the real estate agent who was transferring it, we said, we do not maintain that road. It was still put in the deed that the water company would maintain it. But since the town owns the water company, would the town be responsible? No, because I think that right away was, at least if I follow the deeds right, was transferred to the other homeowner when they bought the property to take that monkey off the back of somebody else and put it on this one. And there's a lot to it, but the fact remains, it's just a right of way. And even if we were to say out of the goodness of everybody's heart and town passed a thing that said we could plow it and they'd have to pay for it, the cost of us plowing it is significantly greater than the cost of having a private entity.
It'd be
plow
like
it.
an HOA where we split up the
They'd have to split it, and our cost is probably much greater than
cost, yeah.
Somebody with a pickup truck plowing it.
So does anybody want to make a motion to plow it or
I think we
leave it alone?
let it.
Leave it
let
as it is.
go Until it's clarified in some way. We're certainly not obligated to do it.
Okay.
And also was taking the road over. We'll wait till we get a actual request.
Yeah, the only way they could do that, am I correct, is to have a petition.
Petition.
Mhm.
What, 210 some signatures on it.
And it would have to be brought up to our standard prior to us taking it over, which would be on
On them.
their cost.
Yeah.
Right.
and that would be about $1 million.
Right.
$1 million a mile.
If I had a million.
Okay, well, we'll move along then. I guess you're all set, John.
Thank you, John. Oh,
Alright.
just one other thing, because I was gonna talk about it in my town report, my town manager's report. We had our first snowstorm,
No way.
plowable snow.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know if you wanted to report on that.
Um,
The first time you've had a full crew.
first time had a full crew in years, we've had 5 remorns, I call them. Usually takes a year before they get experience, but actually they did pretty good. Not bad, a few areas we can plant peas. And side the road, some people lost some flowers and some of their lawn, but it went well. Went well, no breakdowns, didn't run into anybody. Most mailboxes still standing.
No telephone
No
pole.
telephone poles, so they did pretty good. They're learning. The truck's a lot bigger when you put the plow and wing down. What they thought.
It's like 17 feet wide.
Yeah. And when they made a cab, they get there, they done real good. I was real pleased with it.
Also there's some laser things you can buy for your plows. Is that worth looking at now? A lot of towns, not a lot, but some towns have them. They get money to buy them and put them on. I'm just asking.
I wouldn't do it right now with the guys that I have. Let's give them some experience a little bit before we do something like that. That would be quite an investment.
Yeah, no, they're not cheap.
No, they're not.
He's basically saying, let them
I'm just thinking. we
pass this year and go next year.
You know, the insurance, if,
Okay, cool. Thank you, John. All right, citizens' comments. Seeing none?
Anybody from the public have anything to say? Nothing.
About the road?
No.
No, about anything,
Anything.
Go ahead.
Yep, right up to the mic,
There.
front and center.
Okay. Don Cross, 1230 Main Street. And I do have hearing issues and I've got a speech impediment. But I am here to see if the speed limit can be reduced from coming off Route 1 onto Main Street. DOT's got it posted at 35, and I was wondering if that could be lowered down to 25, approximately, oh, I don't know, maybe 400 to 500 feet up the road is the museum, cattle pound, and there it's 25. And my problem is I back in my driveway, and coming down from Moody's or the opposite direction, or even coming in off on Washington Road. My driveway is on the right-hand side, the lower end of Main Street, one driveway up from William Ravis. And numerous times I put my directional on, pull over to the side so I can back, and few times, probably 2 or 3 times, vehicles come around that corner just too darn fast. So 2 or 3 times I could have been rear-ended. I also drive for RSU 40 out of Union. I've been driving for them now for 5 years, and I do have one student on Main Street across from the museum, and I coming through town, it's 25, so I slow down to 20, put the flashes on, slow down to 15, and most vehicles will slow down or even stop, because I have to drive a little bit past their home. They have a really steep drive, so I back. So a couple of incidents there with kids in the car. I was close to being rear-ended. The opposite way, coming in from Route 1 and dropping off this student, they're coming in much faster. I'm actually in front of the museum where it's 25, and some vehicles just come around that corner at 35, and when they hit 25, they are probably still doing 35. I don't know. So I've talked to DOT when they were putting up the new 35 mile an hour sign, and it said that I would have to talk to the state. So I came here last week and spoke with the code, Mark, and Mark suggested that I come here because I guess the state police have some say.
So it's actually the state DOT.
Oh, is it?
It's the state DOT.
Okay.
And what we can do is we can put a request in to have them do a speed analysis
Oh,
and potentially reduce it, but we haven't had much luck.
really?
So I'm emotionally preparing you.
Yeah.
That we've put these requests in.
Yeah.
And we had this request recently on Depot Street. To go from a 35 to a 25. And believe it or not, John, they based it on the average speed of the cars going by,
Oh, my goodness.
not so much that they need to slow down.
Right.
But we will try. I can put that request in. It might take a while. The last one took 9 months,
Oh,
but
well,
I can put the request in.
thank you much.
Do you want a motion for that?
You can make a motion to do that.
Somebody-
I'd move we put a request in to the State Department of Transportation to reduce the speed limit on that first stretch
On
of.
the north end of Main
Old
Street.
Route
Essentially, it'd be 25 right from the corner all the way downtown.
Right.
Yeah.
Keep it
Makes sense.
consistently 25.
I'm not sure you're ever gonna get the people, because I see it all the time too, coming off of Route 1,
Oh, yeah.
slowing down,
That light.
you know? And I don't think, the plan for the speed, because there is a plan for downtown that includes speed tables that could slow people down. I don't think you could have a speed table that close to that intersection to help, but
Hmm.
we'll inquire.
Yeah.
I'll find out what we can do.
Yeah, yeah.
It's worth it.
Well,
For a second?
yeah. So, that's one request. And, a second request would be downtown, where the pharmacy is in the intersection there. That intersection is very busy. And, I've seen where I believe the police department put those portable no parking signs.
Public Works did.
Oh, thank you very much. But I do have an issue with the crosswalk in front of the laundromat. One end on the laundromat side is open and you can visually see people. The other end incorporates like a fire hydrant there. And there are vehicles so close. I come through there most of the time, maybe 15. It is at times so congested there. People are crossing the road, but you cannot visually see a person in that crosswalk because there's a vehicle before it if you're going south, and if you're coming north, there's a vehicle there. So you know, I realize downtown is tight and parking is limited, and I'm not sure if anybody's been hit in that particular crosswalk.
That I would not know. I'd have to find out, but John, you've been here for quite a while. I don't know if you would.
I don't believe they have.
No?
But I know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And the area.
Can you come up, John, because he can't hear?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but the area in between, I don't think there's parking allowed. In between there, cause that's an old roadway that goes between the old Five and Dime and the lawyer's office.
Yeah.
And there's not supposed to be any parking there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I don't know how to handle that, whether I go down with a loader and squash the car. Maybe we get somebody else down there to have them towed, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, if you see that, let us know. It's just a simple call to dispatch and just let them know that somebody's in a no parking zone.
So,
And I can tell the PD to watch out for that.
that area, why couldn't they simply paint stripes like they did on the corners?
That will be coming next year.
Oh,
The stripes, we just done that style striping right in the middle of the intersections this year. To see whether people pay more attention to them or not, and which people are. So next year, it's going in the budget. It costs us more, but it will be in the budget for all crosswalks to be painted that way.
okay.
Is there any more discussion on?
I just wanted to ask whether or not the speed table designs we've been talking about would dictate that that might be an appropriate place for a speed table if and when we get to the point of putting them in.
We can ask.
I won't interrupt your, it won't hurt your plowing, Don. Why?
Is there any more discussion?
Can you hear me on Zoom from there?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Lynn and I operate a business in downtown Waldeboro. And I just was also wanting to chime in regarding public safety and the traffic downtown. Pretty much daily down there, it feels like you're at risk of getting run over when you're trying to cross really anywhere, because the crosswalk that's by the pharmacy, people coming up the hill or down the hill just kind of take that corner and at pretty high speeds. And also I would second the gentleman's comment about when you're crossing by the laundromat. I live above the laundromat, and like, you peer out from between the cars and, you could get your face taken off. People are driving really fast, all times of day or night. People come into the cafe and are, commenting on like, oh my God, I almost saw someone, or, so if the speed tables, I know that I talked to Max about this and he said that the same thing, that one of the roads is a state road, so it's not able to be dealt with by the town per se. But I just wondered, again, I think Julie, I can't see that well, but I think that's you at the end of the table.
Yeah, that's me.
Hi. You said not to get your hopes up.
Well, for the speed reduction, but for the
Okay.
speed tables, that's been John Daigle, myself, Max had an amazing meeting with the DOT. And we
yeah.
did apply for the grant for the speed tables. And I do think that included Friendship.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a speed table on Friendship.
There would be two speed tables, one at that crosswalk, and then one would be closer to the store entrance.
Yeah, so store and then that crosswalk by the laundromat would have it.
Good, because people pick up a lot of speed on Friendship Road heading into town, and they don't really slow down until they get to the stop sign. So like,
Well, right. And unfortunately, I get the request all the time, can we have an officer here? And when the officer is there, everybody is very well behaved.
oh, of course.
But when the
I
officer
thought about
isn't
camping
there,
out myself and just taking down some license plates.
everybody speeds. And unfortunately, that's I will be honest, that is our biggest complaint in this town is speeding.
Yep.
And half the time, just 235 was closed for a long time. And we got a complaint from a resident on 235 about speeding. And they could only be their own neighbors.
Right.
And it
No one
was
else is going
because
out
the
there.
road was closed. So on his end of the road, it could only be people that lived on that road.
Right.
And we did put a police officer there. And the best way, and I say this quite a bit and people laugh, but if you see somebody speeding and you say to them, hey, I don't know if you realize it, but you drove by my house, you were going a little fast, I have kids or grandkids, that does more than actually having a cop stop them, because it's just your nature. You might pay more attention to your neighbor. I understand you might not want to tell some of your neighbors they're speeding, but we try. And I know that Justin's been out a lot, doing a lot of speed details, and he's gotten some really good feedback. But thank you. And like I said, as soon as we know anything about that grant and when that can happen, we will let you know, because that is an exciting project for downtown.
Okay. And if there's anything that we can do as downtown residents or business owners to kind of add support to that, to if anyone needs to know how needed it really is or whatever, I'd love to be a voice for safety and concern for the folks downtown.
And we also did get a request to put up the snow ban rules downtown on a sign. So we will be doing that. And the police are aware about the parking and the enforcement of the parking,
Yay. Okay.
like the hour limits.
Thank you for listening.
You're welcome.
Any other comments? Ready to vote?
All set.
We're all set.
We're gonna vote on the,
He said ready
got
to
a
vote.
motion on to vote on the
Right.
reduction of the speed.
Yep, on on North Main Street.
North Main Street, yep.
All those in favor? The request, cool,
Okay.
awesome. Any other citizens' comments? Go ahead,
Thanks.
front and center.
Oh, coat's coming up.
Gonna be here a while?
No, no.
Take your jacket off. I think you might want to be here a while.
Come in the building. My name is Richard Parker. I'm from the laundry. Bob and Mike recommended that I come here. I got the question about the speed bumps. They're in process. My only other question is everybody's gonna give you a different idea on what needs to be done in the village. Would it be best if we kind of got together in our own little group and made an outline and then just simply presented that to you?
Well, the state's gonna have to approve it to
Well-
start with. so that's-
No, I think you're
Just
talking
to
about
get-
on a broader in a broader sense.
Oh, okay.
Right, just for the whole downtown. I mean, listen,
I
you
get you.
guys really got that land, that parking lot behind there. That's huge,
Oh, yeah,
huge.
absolutely.
So just so you know, we are planning, and we were waiting till after the holidays to have an actual meeting about the parking lot with all the business owners and residents
Great.
downtown.
Great.
Just because I think that's it is an integral part of what's going to happen downtown.
Well, if there's hopefully a renaissance. I can tell you right now, the laundry, there's a new laundry coming. That laundry is gonna shrink and probably, disappear shortly. I personally think it's good for the community. There needs to be something nice in that storefront kind of thing, because place is not gonna survive with two laundromats. I mean, I just had the best year I've ever had there. And I only lost $2,800. How much longer I've been keeping it going since '87.
Mhm.
I'm just running out of steam.
But I do think that the plans that we developed for the downtown will make it more conducive to having businesses there and making it more walkable.
Right.
That's what our hope is. And we've got some really great, Max has some really great plans for the parking lot and some really
Yeah.
great ideas that I think you're really gonna love.
I just know there's a lot of different.
Ev-
Everybody has their different.
Everybody
ideas.
has, but that's what makes the world go round, is everybody's got an opinion, and we gotta listen to all of them, and I think we try to.
So that's all I wanted to do was ask if that might be a good idea.
Yep.
And thanks for getting us the parking lot. The speed bumps whenever
Speed table,
speed
Big
tables.
tables, yeah.
as we learned from the DOT, speed humps go. Speed tables don't do anything, they just kind of seamlessly don't make a noise. That was a real technical engineering thing right there, I've gotta tell you.
The more the merrier.
Yep.
Bob?
I do remember back in the day, it had nothing to do with the select board. But there was a downtown group. Charlotte Davenhill kind of was the driving force behind that. And she got together with some folks down there and they came up with some things they did as a group that you don't need us for.
Yeah.
And it helped improve appearances. They got some things going. They organized some of the art walks together. There were things they did that were very, very helpful to the downtown.
I miss the art walks.
Yeah, I do too. So there's a little vacuum there that I think the businesses downtown can begin to fill.
I think it's getting better.
No question it is.
I think the parking is a big issue, and I'll just talk to everybody on my own and present it.
Yep.
But
Cool.
you should be getting an invitation after the first of the year, and we're gonna have a meeting and everybody can come.
More people would have come, but with Eric's passing,
Any other citizens' comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to select board comments. Bob?
I just have one and I'll keep it short because it's on the agenda later on. And that is that Peg and I met with Matt Weaver of the First and talked about investment avenues and possibilities. It was a very helpful meeting and I'm grateful that Matt came to it. And we'll talk about it more later in the meeting.
Yeah. Got nothing?
Got nothing.
Wow.
I will say one thing.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
See, I know.
I knew you couldn't
Speaking
get
of
away.
downtown, this Sunday, Santa Claus will be downtown. So
Yeah.
you'll see a lot of activity down there Sunday when the fire department has the fire truck parade and they have things set up and the kids. And so Sunday evening, there'll be a lot of activity down there.
Cool.
And it's the real Santa.
How do you know?
He doesn't smell like sausages.
Okay.
And that's from a movie.
Okay.
And last year, when my grandson met him, he pulled his beard and he looked right at me and he said, "Oh, Ma, he's the real deal." And he knew where my grandson was moving in Waldoboro and told him, he's like, "Don't you worry. I know you're moving from Dresden and you're going to be on Old Augusta Road." And he was just amazed. He can't wait to talk to him this year. He was so happy he found him.
That's all I had.
Okay. See what you started though?
So,
Mike,
I won't start anything.
you all set?
Yeah.
Yeah, so am I. So, town manager's report.
I have a great report. You are surrounded by toys and coats and boots and food. And that is all through the generosity of members of the public and businesses in the town of Waldoboro. And we have two very important elves in town here who put a lot of time and energy into making sure that everybody gets what they need. And come next Thursday, when we're doing the food baskets, the entire staff that's here that day help, and select board members show up, and we're going to be distributing 160 food baskets next Thursday. And about, I think, 60 families are receiving coats, toys, and boots this year, which is, it's the highest number we've ever had. And I just wanted to point that out. That's all I have.
All right, we'll move on to the consent calendar. Somebody like to make a motion to approve consent calendar?
I just want to amend it to include 921 to add number 22, warrant number 22 to that one.
Okay.
If I may.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay. All right, we'll move on to new business, planning board applications.
Yes.
Two of them.
I'll sort of do them together. There's a lot of similarities, actually. John graciously took on the responsibility of scheduling the two interviews. But he was unable to attend because he had a medical emergency in the family. I did try to get another select board, but I was unable to do that for the first interview with Mr. Stark, but I did get Bob. Bob had time to interview Richard Crocker. So I interviewed Mr. Stark alone. Anyway, in terms of similarities, they're both businessmen. Eric was a realtor and a builder. He is a business owner in Waldoboro. He lives down in Dutch Neck, and he has some properties down there. And he may have interests coming before the planning board. His daughter is opening a place, or has opened a place. It's the Wine Bar, right near Waldo Theater.
Worcester's old house.
Yeah. And Richard, I've actually met Richard a few times. I met you in the laundromat one time after talking to Carolyn Harris, and you were at an RSU 40 meeting. I remember that too. And I actually had phoned you. We had swapped conversations even before you sent in the application.
But you didn't come with dirty laundry.
That's because I saw Carolyn going in and I wanted to return a sign to her. But we have used your laundry. We have our own laundry, but there are things that we can't do. Comforters and things like that. And so you, of course, have a business, rentals in the apartments over the laundry and the laundry itself. So both of these applicants have very much have interest downtown. It was kind of surprising, but you were very open about some medical issues that you
Oh.
had. I can't say that. I'm not going to discuss the medical issues,
Okay.
but they were discussed with me.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know whether you want to talk about them here or not. Sure.
We, so typically we don't have discussions about that
Right, we just
type of
appoint them
stuff.
Okay.
through your interviews. We'll just appoint them with your blessing or not.
It doesn't have anything to do with the appointment.
Right.
It has more to do with an issue he has downtown
Oh, okay.
that
Correct.
relates to a
Okay.
situation
Relate,
that he's
yes.
having to
Yes.
deal with,
Okay, I got you. I got you.
involves another party.
I'm sorry, I just didn't want to get into.
know, I
Oh, no, no.
I got a little nervous.
It's
It's not a HIPAA thing, okay.
Oh, it's not HIPAA at all.
I was just about to have a-
I'm not a-
I was about to have a medical condition.
And you were very apologetic. I would explanatory and apologetic about things that have happened. And I took that at face value. And I think that you can work with the town. And you said you would be able to work with the town. So for both of these candidates, I think I'm giving a blessing, my personal blessing.
So you making a request to, making a motion to appoint.
And I'm not
Mr.
exactly
Stark and
sure
Mr.
how this
Parker?
works too,
No,
because
just-
we had,
we just
we
gotta
had
have
a
a motion.
question about whether there were two openings on the planning
There's
board, or
one.
just one.
Oh, so you gotta
So-
choose one of them?
So
Is that what you're saying?
I don't know how to,
Yes.
I don't know how to.
There's
conduct
one
that.
opening and one alternate. So
Max, is there one opening and one alternate?
that's what I.
Jeffrey Ears can step down, so we do have one open. There, you can do alternates as well.
So if I may, Mike, I nominate Mr. Stark for the seat and Mr. Parker for the alternate.
As an alternate
As
in
an
the meeting.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we need all the help we can get.
Is there a second to that?
He won't be a voting member
No,
unless
no, no,
someone, unless someone's not there.
someone's not there.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any
So
discussion?
what's the terms? The alternate's only a 1-year term, correct? And the permanent is filling the,
2-year or the 3-year.
2 years, I believe, because it's filling in Jeffrey Erskine's seat.
it's an unexpired term.
It's a 2-year term for, yeah, okay. Any more discussion? Seeing none? All those in
The
favor?
only thing is, Pam, I know in the past when we've done these interviews and approvals, you send that letter out to the planning board, well, for this case, the planning board chairman will get these names.
Correct. I'll email Brendan and he in turn reaches out to them.
So they know that. Times.
The meeting is also gonna be on Thursday as well, so I was gonna announce it anyways, so. Jeffrey's not there, make sure it's set up publicly, Jeffrey's no longer on it, whoever he's going to pick for the. Whatever you decide tonight's gonna be set up.
All those in favor? Of Mr. Stark being the seat and filling the seat and Mr. Parker being the alternate for 1 year? For 1 year. All those in favor? Okay. You are set. You're back full again, Max. And then some. All right, we'll go on to old business. Camper vehicles and other non-permanent structures for permanent human habitation. Mark, front and center.
Pam made me dumb it down a little bit, so
Dumb it down. I don't know.
it was too long.
That's still pretty long.
Yep.
We discussed this at one of the past meetings as far as coming up with some type of language that would make it a little clearer rather than, picking and choosing amongst the different codes that are out there. So what I put together was a draft and a discussion. I would hope you had enough time to, breeze through some of these things and I was hoping to get some input as far as what your thoughts were, any questions you may have about some of the language, where it came from. Some of it came directly out of either the state, some of it came out of building codes, some of it came out of our land use ordinance. So I kind of pulled from different areas, whichever one I thought best fit and had a good description to it.
I did have some questions. Some of them it's nits and I can just send you an email, but some of the issues that come to me concern first in the definition of campsite. Well, actually, first the camper RV definition. At the very last sentence, you talk about tiny homes are not included in that definition.
That's correct.
I just thought it'd be helpful to make a reference to tiny homes that comply with state building codes and permanent housing codes.
Okay,
They
there
are
is-
not part of that definition, correct?
Correct, but
Yeah.
there is a definition of
clarify
tiny
that.
homes in here as well.
Yeah, there is, and I'll get back to that in a second. Okay. In under campsite, we're saying that a group can't exceed 10 individuals. I'm just wondering how we came up with that number. Why not 5 or 15 or 20?
That again was something that was in our land use ordinance. I believe that's where that one came from, the
Okay.
10 sites. And then that basically was referring to the individual private sites,
Yes,
so not like public campgrounds,
it's
and
called
stuff like that.
campsite individual private.
Correct.
Right.
So those type of places, for instance, trying to think of the place on Bremen Road that has the campsites out back, Topsail Farm.
Right,
It wouldn't apply to them because they are considered a campsite. So that type,
and they're licensed as such, right?
correct. And there is a state licensing process that goes along with campsite, campgrounds. So they fall under that. So when you see language in there that basically refers to state of Maine, that's what it's referring to, is the fact that there is language from the state that they have to register with them.
So do we want to reference in this definition something to the effect that they're unlicensed campsites and individual and private areas? That they're not licensed and therefore they don't fall under the state rules, and therefore the town certainly has the need to limit the number.
We can do that. And again, I believe this language is coming from our own ordinance that's already
Right.
in there. But adding that language, I think, would clarify it for people that are reading so that they know what they're dealing with.
Okay.
So,
Under manufactured home, in the second sentence, you're talking about 8 feet or more. If it's that in traveling mode is 8 feet or more, do we want to say up to 8 feet in that sentence? If it's in traveling mode? Are we allowed to put something wider than 8 feet?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What, 20 feet?
They're usually up to 14 feet wide, I think.
Okay,
Yeah, a single wide can be up to
14 feet wide.
then maybe that's the standard we ought to be using here.
okay, this
That's just,
language comes directly out of.
I get
the
it,
Codes,
but
so
nothing's
that's,
perfect, you know?
Yep. Yep.
For clarity's sake, I just up to 14 feet would help me realize that, okay, there's a limit to the width that can be accommodated here. And then there's a reference later on in that definition to the secretary HUD, and a reference to a title which isn't cited. I don't know which title it's referring to.
the HUD title basically deals with the state. HUD is the manufactured homes.
No, I get that, but
Okay,
maybe established under this title, you mean this section or this definition?
where are you referring to?
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines up from the bottom of that definition. This is the fourth word in, and I'm guessing that you really mean here that it's the definition. Or maybe the ordinance. It's not clear to me.
Yeah, what I need to do is I need to take that title out and actually put the title of that section of the main building code,
Got it.
because
Okay.
it's referring to the main building code.
Okay. And I would just suggest adding at the end of that definition, the words "and includes a tiny house," because you've defined that term.
Tiny homes are on their,
Are
on their
tiny.
own,
Right,
their own definition. They don't,
but it's a manufactured home.
yes, but they do not meet the manufacturer. They are not under HUD. They are a total separate entity. As a matter of fact, the state of Maine has their own
Okay,
definitions as
got what you're
well.
saying. Yep, that makes sense. So tiny home would not have a reference to HUD because it doesn't come under.
That's correct. It does
Yeah.
not come under HUD.
Okay,
It is not a HUD.
and you say
home.
that very clearly on the first sentence on page 5. Under violation penalties. And the first paragraph of that section 6, you talk about enforcement and you include the Waldeboro Health Officer, the Waldeboro Code Enforcement Officer, and or their designees. Do you want to include the Waldeboro Police Department in case enforcement is needed? Legal enforcement is needed for that?
I would leave those two totally separate. These aren't criminal offenses.
I'm envisioning a situation where they could become criminal. So the wording isn't that it's absolutely necessary, but that it's available to them if they need it. That's all.
If it was something criminal, we'd be dealing with that on a different level.
I get it.
The only reason I had the health officer in there as well is because we do, Derek and I do work hand in hand on things that are considered a health issue as well as code violations.
Yep.
So I do bring him in on those for his expertise. Police and fire, I really don't, I would take, advisement and stuff like that, but everything falls under me and then I would bring it from an enforcement standpoint to the
You do
board.
it anyway.
Right,
Okay,
so.
that makes sense.
I don't think we want to
No, I
go
hear you.
there.
Yep. And then there's an appeal process.
Yeah, the violation section and the appeal section, basically I took out of other ordinances, almost a copy and paste. I did read over them, and like I said, I eliminated some of the people that were in there, the police chief, fire chief, that type of stuff, because I felt it wasn't applicable. But again, I took those out of the marijuana ordinance. And I put them in there almost verbatim.
Okay, I get it, but the reference to the select board seems to me to be kind of dangling, but there's no other discussion of the select board that I found in this ordinance.
In the very beginning, it talks about on page 2, legislative findings, and talks about the select board. I'm sure you had a chance to take a look at that. It just talks about the reasons and rationale behind coming up with something like this,
Right?
but.
Are you saying you want to be the appeal board for it?
No, I'm not.
Okay,
I don't think we do.
I don't think you do either.
I don't
We got an
either,
appeals
but
board
by
now, so-
implication, we are.
Yeah, we have appeals board.
Yeah, so
It wouldn't come to the select board. It would go to the appeals board. It'd go to
Right.
the appeals board.
I think the only thing we would deal with is fines and stuff like that.
Yep.
So you want to remove select board under
I'd
appeal?
put appeals board in there more appropriately.
Yeah, I can better define that, because right now it basically talks about Article 5 and land use, which is the appeals and goes through the appeals board process. But if you want, I can actually copy that language into that as well, so it's clear.
Oh.
Yep.
Yep. Made a really good start, Mark.
This,
I had a couple of comments too. the reference to owner and, the fines accrue to, the owner of the property. Suppose it's sort of a dumb question, but what happens if there's a squatter on town property?
Then it becomes a legal matter at that point in time. If we have, I'm dealing with one right now where there's a homeowner that has somebody living on their property in a camper and does not want them there. And it is a very sticky situation, but so I am dealing with it from a health and code standpoint. And also the fact that, you know, this person needs to move off the property.
Well, I wouldn't want that homeowner to be fined, obviously.
No, and in that case,
property
it
owner, yeah.
basically is going to fall back on this individual because of the fact that the homeowner has no, you know, he doesn't want him there. So obviously
And he has no
he can
police
only
authority.
control, right, he can only control, he's already called police, he's tried to get them to intervene. And it becomes a mess even with PD. Because they don't, there's a fine line of kicking somebody off the property. And it's a he said, she said thing of, well, did the person pay rent? He says yes, he says no. So PD's stuck in the middle trying to figure out, well, somebody obviously is lying about this.
It's a civil matter.
Okay, I'm just, being a property owner,
Mhm.
I'm sensitive to issues where the property gets
Absolutely, I get
gets
it.
whacked and it's not the property owner's fault.
Yep.
The other thing, that's, to me, that's more of an issue with a tent. That actually happened to a neighbor of mine. And I was walking through the woods and there was a tent on my neighbor's property. And I called her and let her know. Turns out it was her daughter. It all worked out fine. The other issue with tents, there was a lot about RVs, but as you mentioned at the last select board meeting, there were a couple of tent fires in which people died.
Sanford and Portland,
Pardon?
Sanford and Portland.
And what do you do if you see a tent, somebody in a tent with a propane heater?
And this is part of the problem that we have, and the stuff that can be really scary is you have agencies that mean very well, and it's like, it's cold, we have people living in tents, let's get them heaters, and then we have tragedies like what happened in Portland. And
And it'd be like an
you have to
education
be-
campaign, or at least something to.
It gets back to what I originally said. We have a problem with housing. We don't have enough housing. And I am hopeful somebody, you know, through the state or county or whatever, can work towards solving that, because that is the key to this whole thing, is we need affordable housing. I don't have the answer to that. I just know from a safety standpoint.
Well, what
that
would be a safe heater for a tent? I have no clue.
I don't think there is one.
it-
You know, even
A down sleeping bag,
Electric, but again,
down sleeping bag.
Yeah. that's why these problems are very problematic. You know, when it comes to, you're not gonna find a carbon monoxide detector in the tent. It's just, you know, but we have people that are trying to live in them.
We do have a community navigator. I mean, for all intents and purposes, that's something new. In all of that, Lincoln County is now served by community navigation. And I think that's something that, you know, we have that resource for people who are dealing with homelessness. Now, again, he can direct them to the services, but whether people are willing to accept them or what the circumstances are, that's dependent. But all of our police officers, all of our EMS, all of our health officer, who is our chief of our EMS, Mark, we all know when we see something like that. You said, what do you do if you see? We hand out that card. that at least is the first step to getting them to the resource.
I think that was one. You got any questions, John? No? Okay. Cool, thank you, Mark. We'll give you something to work on.
Yeah.
Work with. Okay. Investment policy. I would believe that's you, Bob.
Thank you.
I do not see her.
She's not here. I mean, this is really her, I think this is her initiative, not mine. But we know when,
I figured you might have some insight with you, Matt.
well, Matthew, when he presented, he has made a presentation to this board, indicated that we have endowments and trust funds that are going to be here forever. They're not going to have nothing to do with our operating account. And there are monies that the town should be investing and securing through its investments and ensuring they grow and increase. And what he recommended, and I agree, is that we ought to be investing those trust and endowment funds, not operating money, in a 60-40 relationship, equities bonds. The bonds will ensure stability and the equities will ensure growth. And they kind of balance one another and basically reduce the risk of the investment portfolio that's structured for the endowments and the trusts. I think I'm preaching to the choir here. So the only other issue I had was with the policy itself. That policy ought to list and describe each of the trusts and endowments that the town is responsible for safeguarding and investing. And that's easy to do. So, and I don't think Matt objected to that during the meeting. So, yeah, he's suggesting in a note that he wrote to you a 55-65 split. Sorry, it would be not a 55-65 split. Equities would be from 55 to 65, and the bonds would be the counter to that. So it always adds up to 100%. But you're weighted more on the equity side. We've done that at the library, and it has meant a lot to the improvement of the library's restricted funds, especially. You get money, you can't do anything with it, it's restricted. But you can grow the principal and keep the principal safe by balancing between equities and bonds. So that's the idea behind it.
Anything else to add?
No, just that I think Bob may have said this, we're gonna work on the policy revisions and get some sample policies and just be a little more clear. Explaining all of different trust funds that we have.
Yep.
So.
Cool.
It's a work in progress.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. Nice that you organized that. Thank you.
No problem.
Yep. Cool. We're all set there?
Yep.
All right. 80 Gray update. Max. Front and center.
Thing I have for 80 Gray is there's gonna be a little ceremony this Friday to sort of celebrate that the project's finally moving forward. I think people are getting that as a little postcard in the mail, apparently. Although I bet the bit of news that is this about the special election or
Yes, we can talk about that now too, yes.
all right. Well,
You want me to talk about that part?
I was going to say, so the warrant articles mostly covered map U4 lot 63, I believe.
So back when we had the vote. Because it's been so many times we've had the vote.
A lot of votes.
Lots of votes
Lots
for
of
80
votes.
Gray. We approved the sale of the property for 80 Gray for lot 60,
U4 63.
U4 63. Knowing during negotiations, they might have needed more. When the attorney wrote the article, back at that time, we weren't sure what they needed, but we were going with the one spot. the one portion of the one lot. Since that time, a couple things have happened. There's a right of way to the, if you're looking at 80 Gray to the right, that they're gonna have to maintain because there is a sewer pump station there that services the area, the house that's behind,
This is a
The-
U464.
yeah, U464. So they have to kind of shift things. And it comes out to be, they're gonna need an extra 0.25 acres. And that would maintain the required setbacks. It also gives them that loss of the right of way into that piece of property. The issue becomes, we have to have the meeting because we need to close so that they can be eligible for their funding by December 31st. So we'd have to schedule a
Special town.
special town meeting before the end of the year. And if you wanted to move that from a Tuesday, because I know that our next meeting is the 26th, the day after Christmas, and people might be still celebrating. And because this reminded me of a good story that John Blodgett told about his mother and how she used to cut the pot roast, was it, John?
I'm
not
telling you.
I thought if you wanted to, you can move it to Thursday and we can have the special town meeting and our regular select board meeting on a Thursday. If you want to have a special town meeting, but it would address the issues and let them close and off we go running.
And they would be able to close on the 29th.
Yes,
You let them know.
I will let them know whenever that they can close on the 29th.
I make the motion to hold a special town meeting on the 28th
28th of December.
of December
Okay. Is there a
to
second?
address these.
6 in the evening.
Yep.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
Well, second. Is there any more discussion? And this is just on adding a quarter of an acre
Quarter of an acre.
to their,
I was gonna say if up to a quarter of an acre, because some of the reasons they need these additional bits is to address that 15-foot side setback that we have. But I'm gonna make sure to bring this to the planning board's attention to see if we can reduce the historic village setback anyways, which is something I've kind of wanted to do for a while. It's been on hold because of a few housing related ordinances I've had to update for the state, but if I can reduce it to 5, then they won't actually need the full amount that we're doing, so
So up to.
up to.
So the new wording would be, I saved it, read it. Shall the town authorize the select board to convey up to 2.5 acres of map U4 lot 62 to Volunteers of America for $1 and on
0.25.
0.2, I'm sorry, 0.25 acres of map U4 lot 62 to Volunteers of America for $1 and on such other terms and conditions that the select board deems to be in the best interest of the town.
any, John?
So essentially, that's just gonna shift it towards the sports field, kind of where the old house used to be.
Right, well, like if you go to 80 Gray right now, you know that little hill that goes down?
Yeah, used to be a house sitting there. Yeah.
That's roughly what we're looking at. As I say, I want to try and reduce the setback because there is part of it that goes into where they're gonna have the parking lot.
Mhm.
So that's part of the big reason why it needs to happen. And the other is just it's mostly the structure.
And that's like that, where that ledge starts there.
Right.
I'm sure you're well aware of that. You probably played there.
Not gonna lose too much.
Bob?
U4 lot 62, the town actually owns that outright, right?
Correct.
Map, yeah, map U4 lot 62 is that empty field between 80 Gray and
And there's an
The ball
easement over that to the,
No, the
no,
easement.
no, there's 2 easements. There's one, the one you're talking about,
Mhm.
a house next door, but there's also one across that empty field between the school and the ball field. There's an easement there as well.
there's a right of way, but that's
Or maybe
between
it's
the
the right of way. I'm
But
just,
that's, but that's the northern part of the
Right.
parcel we're talking about.
Okay.
That's right at the southern border of the ball field.
and they're not gonna get anywhere near that.
No,
so
No.
it's not a-
No, the right of way art that they discovered is on the right-hand side when you're standing looking at 80 Gray on the right-hand side.
If you go to the ball fields and then go down that steep little hill that's right on the other side of the parking, that's pretty much it.
It was always an understanding that we do that. I mean,
This is just to cover the legal.
we've been talking, yeah, it somehow got under the radar.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? You're all set. We can set up a public meeting.
Just what
Any-
Pam wanted to do after
Thursday night
Christmas.
before New Year's.
We'll have a New Year's Eve party.
Uh, any business for the next meeting?
Can I just say something?
Mhm.
Because I'm not gonna be here at the groundbreaking. Volunteers of America sent out postcards to every resident in town to invite them, and you can come have cocoa, which is great. It doesn't get said enough. Max did a phenomenal job with AD Gray. Max is one of my best hires in my 37-year career. He doesn't get the credit he deserves for all the things he does. He's a phenomenal employee. AD Gray has had a lot of intricacies, and I will be honest, Max and I took the brunt of the AD Gray dissatisfaction that did exist here. We dealt with the AD Gray committee. We dealt with all the residents on both sides of that fence, and we dealt with them fairly. And Max always maintained his composure, even when there was a lot of stuff that was being said on Facebook, and there was a lot of rancor at times over this. It is great after 3.5 years of dedication that we're getting to this point. And I just want to say thank you for your class act. And I value you as a town planner and as a human. You're a great human. You're a good boy. And for me to miss the groundbreaking is huge. 36 units where our seniors that are residents of Waldoboro have the option of potentially living out their years and staying within their community that's wrapped their arms around them is huge. And for Bob and Abden, you sat through all those meetings with us. You were also the lightning rod of a lot of unhappy people at times. But I'm just so proud of how we as a team managed to get to this point. And, you know, the Historical Society has been great. They've went into the building, they've taken a lot of the artifacts, and I'm sure Bill Maxwell has a ton of ideas about how to display them. But I just wanted to say to Max, this is our first really big project together, and I'm sure there's many more to come, hopefully. And
Hopefully less controversial.
yes, but I just wanted to say thank you for all your hard work.
Yes, thank you, Max.
Thank you, Max. Absolutely.
Really showed me the value of patience.
Actually, I think you've taught me patience.
Right, is there anything for the meeting next month, or we'll just wait?
Next, it's
meeting.
town meeting,
Special town meeting.
special town meeting.
Okay.
Anything
Next.
else?
Are we not having?
We're not having the 26th. We're doing just the 28th. We have the ACO contract on.
That's the only
I
other.
mean, if something comes up that we.
If
Yeah,
something
all right.
comes
No,
up,
I was
we
just
might.
thinking stuff right off the top of the heads. Okay. Cool.
And if we could have a quick executive at the end of this meeting for personnel, that would be great.
Sounds good. All right, we'll go into.
Make the emotion, we adjourn and go into executive session.
Second.
Would you like to read that off, John? It's for personnel matter.
Be pursuant of 1 MRSA 405-6A to discuss the personnel matter.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, we'll go into executive session.